I wish I could go back in time just to hug that little girl. And that little girl was me.
Today I understand that no child should ever go through what I went through at 11 years old. For a long time, I tried to pretend that it hadn't affected me. I tried to act normal. I tried to bury everything deep inside myself. But there are experiences that don't end when they happen. They continue living inside you for years. And maybe that's why I grew up so afraid of people. Why I distrusted affection. Why I struggled to believe people when they said they loved me. Why I carried guilt for pain that should have never belonged to a child. Today I can finally look at that little girl with compassion. But for many years, all I felt was shame. Shame, fear, silence. And maybe there are people watching this video right now who are carrying similar pain in silence. So today I decided to tell this story. Not because it's easy, but because for many years I needed someone to tell me that none of it was my fault. And maybe someone out there needs to hear that today. The story. I grew up in a small and isolated neighborhood, in a place where everyone basically knew everyone's life. My childhood was marked by absence. My father never officially recognized me. My mother, Carolina, worked a lot, but she also spent long periods away from home. So most of the time, I was raised by my grandparents. My grandmother, Helen, was always a very gentle woman, the kind of person who showed love through small acts of kindness. Today, she has Alzheimer's. And sometimes it hurts knowing that many conversations I wish I could have with her may never happen. My grandfather, Richard, was very different. Very strict. Very emotionally distant. One of those old-fashioned men who believed children should obey without asking questions. Their house had a main building and a smaller space in the back. And that was where one of the most traumatic experiences of my life happened. I was 11 years old, quiet, shy, very emotionally needy, especially when it came to affection and protection. That day, I had just come home from school. I had lunch and started playing like any normal child. An older cousin from the family was home, and I trusted him, because when you're a child, you believe family members are safe. You believe adults are supposed to protect you, and maybe that became one of the hardest things to accept afterward. He invited me to watch a movie. At first, everything seemed completely normal, but little by little, I started noticing strange behavior. The atmosphere became uncomfortable. And even though I was very young, I started feeling afraid. That kind of fear your body feels before your mind fully understands what's happening. I tried to leave. I tried to move away, but he kept insisting. And in that moment, I realized something was very wrong. I froze, confused, terrified, because children don't know how to react in situations like that. People imagine that a child will scream, run away, or ask for help. But many times, fear freezes you. And that's exactly what happened to me. I remember the panic. The feeling of not understanding why someone would do that to me. I kept saying I wanted to leave, but it felt like my words meant nothing. What hurt the most was realizing that while I was terrified, he acted as if everything was normal, as if I had no right to feel afraid, as if my pain didn't matter. And that destroys a child psychologically, because you start questioning your own reality. You start feeling guilt, shame, confusion. After some time, when he finally got distracted, I managed to leave. I remember opening the door and feeling like I was escaping from a nightmare. I was in shock, unable to think clearly. My body was shaking. My clothes were messy. I felt emotionally destroyed. But the worst part was still coming, because when a child goes through something traumatic, they need comfort. And I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to explain what had happened. I was afraid. Afraid no one would believe me. Afraid people would think I was lying. Afraid of being blamed. So I did the only thing I could think of in that moment. I ran. I went to the house of a friend named Ashley. When she saw me, she immediately realized something was wrong. And that was the moment I started crying, a desperate kind of crying. The kind that comes out when your body can no longer hold the pain inside. I couldn't even speak properly. I was just shaking. And for the first time, someone looked at me and realized I needed help. The consequences. After that day, I was never the same. I started changing. I became quieter, more withdrawn, more distrustful. I was afraid of being alone, afraid of men, ashamed of my own body. And worst of all, I started believing that maybe I truly had no value. Because when a child grows up without emotional protection, they learn to normalize pain. And that affects everything: friendships, relationships, self-esteem, mental health, trust. For many years, I carried guilt, even knowing logically that I was only a child. But trauma does that. It confuses your mind. It makes the victim believe they could have done something differently. But today I know, none of it was my fault. Never. The responsibility always belongs to the person who chose to hurt a child. Final reflection. Today, looking back, I realize how surviving was already an act of courage. Because there were moments when I truly believed I would never heal from that experience. But little by little, I started understanding something. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small pieces. When you speak, when someone listens, when you realize your pain matters, when you finally stop blaming yourself. There are still scars. Some wounds never completely disappear. But today I can finally look at that 11-year-old girl with compassion. Today I wish I could hug that child and say, "You did nothing wrong. You deserved protection. You deserved love." And maybe that's exactly what I want to say to anyone watching this video right now. If something similar happened to you, you are not dirty. You are not broken. And you do not have to carry this pain alone forever. Asking for help is not weakness. Talking about trauma is not shameful. And surviving already makes you incredibly strong. Today I'm still learning how to rebuild my peace. Still learning how to trust. Still learning how to feel safe. But at least now I know that story does not define who I am. It is part of my life, but it no longer controls my future. And maybe that is the greatest victory of all. Because after everything, I survived. And I finally started understanding that I deserve to live a peaceful life.